What is good, everybody? I'm bringing you an Overrun gameplay. I'm just going to tell you my general impressions of the game, some positives, some negatives, some tips so you guys can enjoy the demo. This is like my first, one of my first games. I mean, I'm sure it's everybody's first game, so I'm still getting the hang of things. But so far, so good. I mean, I really like it. I think the game mode is really competitive and it involves a lot of teamwork, which is definitely something I wanted to see in Judgment. Um, you really need good communication. So when there's no communication, that can actually be a problem, but that's not really anybody's fault except the players themselves. I've had moments where if you have a full team, it can be just amazing unless you're just dominating because the other team is a mix of players that aren't really communicating and vice versa. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum. The mercy rule I thought was really good just because it can be annoying to have to sit through a long match when you probably know the outcome based on how quick the first little bit went. And considering the different health and like stats of the characters, I think that's something you really need to ignore in terms of evaluating the whole game. So when I talk right now, I want to talk about Overrun itself, not the rest of Gears, because it will no doubt be different. So for some of the positives, I thought that excuse me, both sides had a really good mix of classes, which suggests that it's balanced, which is great, and all the new weapons seem really fair and unique in their own ways. The Rager is friggin' awesome. I love that guy, and the maps look good, feel good, they play good. They just really flow, and I think if this is any implication for the other maps, then it will be good as long as there's enough maps to keep the game type viable anyway. It really feels like there's a lot of ways to approach the objective, and I think that's what's really new from the other game types. With TDM and execution, there's only so much different things you can do, especially in Gears 3, so it kind of got repetitive, but with all the different classes and the way they have Overrun set up, I feel like you can do different things every time, which will really contribute to the longevity of the game. And like I said before, the fact that it's an objective game type and balance just makes for really good competitive fun. So I can't wait to try this out when I have a full team against a full team. And I'm gonna move on to the negatives now. But like I said, these aren't really negatives in the sense where I'm appalled. I'm just trying to provide some constructive feedback. So maybe we'll see some improvements in future updates. But generally speaking, I think Overrun is a great game type, and I'm pretty excited for the rest of the game. So I'll get right into it right now. So off the bat, I would say that I wish the cutscenes were a little bit shorter just because it all adds up, and Overrun can already take a lot of time. I think on average my games have been between 15 to 40 minutes, which is a long time, especially for people who need to manage time fairly well. That's not necessarily a negative, but that's definitely something you need to consider, and I thought I'd point it out just maybe so people would think about it. When playing as the engineer, I find the turrets to be a little overpowered. I've had moments where I've actually gone like triple kills with them, and people might disagree with me here, but it might just be a matter of adapting and playing the game a little bit more. But I think it'd be a little better if they could change it so that the engineers' turrets play a more supportive role as opposed to an aggressive role. I think if the turrets actually stunned people and slowed them down, it would be a lot more fair than actually killing them, because the turrets can be very lethal. And you just saw me with the ticker there. I also wish that R was to detonate. I keep hitting R and clawing at people, thinking I'm gonna detonate and messing up, but that is my own fault. The medic ability is another one that I would like to see changed. It can instantly heal people, which is fine if they're down, but if they've just taken damage, I think it'd be better if they just got their health back moderately fast, but with a slightly larger radius in terms of the area you have to be in to be healed, because I find that sometimes players will be in quote-unquote God mode after they've taken a hit from the medic's ability, and that can really be a problem if you're right in their face shotgunning them. I think the only way to actually kill them is maybe explosives. I would also say that some of the movement feels clunky, but I'm pretty sure that's specific to characters. For instance, right now I'm the Grenadier, and the Grenadier is a heavier character because he has two primaries, so he's going to be slower. Same with Cole. I'm not sure how it's going to play out in regular multiplayer, but that's something to consider. The shotgun feels like it locks up. I don't know if that's just me or not. Once again, it might be a matter of adapting, but I actually hear some people say that it aims to the center of the screen. I don't know if that's a problem. I didn't really notice that much. It didn't bother me. I think that might get rid of corner cutting, which actually might be a good thing, but I'd like to see it a little bit. Um, I don't know if it's slower or faster. I don't know. It just feels a little off right now. And I guess the final thing I will say is if your team isn't communicating and certain classes aren't going to be used, the game can end relatively fast just because it's such a team-based game type, so that can make things difficult, but that's on the players. That's not on the game. So that just might restrict you from actually playing the game type when you have a team, which also might not really be a bad thing because if only teams are playing against teams, full teams that is, then it actually might make for a better playlist in itself. And now I'm just going to talk about some tips that can help you guys improve while you're still playing the demo that have kind of helped me, even though I am not yet a god at this game. Hopefully I will be soon enough, and I will get into it right now. So generally speaking, if I am playing alone, I wait to see what my teammates are choosing, and I will choose the character that is least being used for either Cog or Locust, just to keep a variety going, because like I said, if you have missing classes, you're probably going to lose, so that might be a good strategy for anybody who's playing alone. Also, play the objective, not just the player. This is something that people might have a problem doing because we're so used to just killing each other straight up that you might forget that you're actually supposed to be protecting or attacking an objective, and that's something you need to keep in mind. Another big thing is not to get frustrated. It's a new game. It's going to take time to learn the new tricks of the trade, and you need to learn from your mistakes. That applies for the best of the best as well. So if you're complaining a lot more than you're synthesizing about how you died, that's probably going to stop you from becoming the best player you can be. So you really need to just calm down, slow down, and really think about every mistake you made. That usually helps me maximize my performance later on. And also talk. This is a team-based game type. One-man army is not going to work. So if you have a microphone, see if anybody else is in the game and start talking. People do not bite, don't worry. It is Xbox Live. They cannot see you. They'll never see you again. So just talk. As Cog, I would say the first round you want to be I would, if I had to choose between classes, I'd go for the engineers because you really need to keep your barriers up. The locusts are going to focus on destroying your barriers, and once they're gone, that's it. So keeping your barriers up is really important. The little guys aren't too much to handle, so between turrets and shotguns, that should work. That's not to say everybody should be an engineer, but that will probably be the most used class, in my opinion, so far. Locusts have a two attack lanes, so if you were like me and you were capable of doing basic math, based on how many people you have attacking your side, you can calculate how many people are actually attacking the other side. And the reason why this is important is because you'll know if you need to go support the other side more, or if they need to support you more, because it's easier for the Cog to switch sides and support whichever side they need than it is for the Locusts, because the Locusts have to go all around. So that's something that's been helping me. And you also need a soldier. If you don't have a soldier, everybody's going to run out of ammo, and it's just a matter of time before you get killed. I think right here as the Marksa, as the scout, I was pretty much out of ammo anyway, so it didn't really matter to me, and I became a soldier because I didn't want to run out of ammo again. As the medic, sometimes I throw my ability into an area filled with locust, and I kind of run into it like I'm intercepting a football, if that makes any sense, and then I'll just start tearing people up in that particular area, and that's actually worked out pretty well for me. It might work out for well for you guys too, so that is definitely worth a try because the ability heals you a lot more than I think it should. And just back to this soldier with the Bushka. The Bushka is actually a really good weapon. It's kind of like the Digger in my eyes. It's really good at suppressing, so if you're using it, instead of spamming it, try your best to actually bounce it off walls and see if you can flush people out, because it is actually quite a good weapon. Also, if you're a scout, take advantage of your spot grenades, because anybody who's spotted is going to do more damage. And obviously the towers is an advantage for the scout too, but if you find a wretch creeping up on you, you can actually just back right up, and they're not going to want to chase you because you're going to have all this area to shoot them, and all you want to do is stall them. So that might be a good option as well. Don't throw your abilities past the krill. That's not going to do anything. So that's something maybe some of the newer people don't actually know. And actually use your power-ups. A lot of people just don't realize that your power-ups are going to come back relatively fast, so you might as well use them while you can. And now I'm just going to talk about the locust. As Locust, the first thing you want to do is destroy barriers, and melee characters are way better at destroying barriers than characters are with a gun. So your first instinct may actually be to grab a grenadier or some character with a gun, but that might not be the best option. You especially, I think, want to stay away from Canises the first round, because healing tickers and wretches is really not going to do much, and the Canis's hammer burst is not as effective as say the grenadier. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. As a wretch, taking out scouts and towers is a good way to start, and it's usually not too hard, and from there you can flank or cause damage to the objective, which will really scare people and cause some disarray for the other team. And if you're grenadier, watch out for turrets. They actually blow up your grenades if you're near them, so do not throw your grenade near a turret. You will just be wasting your time. To deal with turrets, I find it a little difficult. I often find myself trying to kill the person who actually put down the turret more so than the turret itself. Otherwise, it's just going to come back. That is another thing to think about. Centipedes are really good for breaking down barricades, whereas Ragers are better for taking out players, and that's something you want to think about when you're going to upgrade your character. And if you're about to die as a Rager, just rage. I'm pretty sure you get all your health back. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. And playing with Cookie, I learned that the Cantus and the Mauler is a death sentence. So if you can afford that, that will really help break down barriers and the objective itself. And spinning a Mauler shield will cause you to take damage, but it deflects bullets and chops people up, which is another thing that might help in a life or death situation, or something you might have to avoid depending on how much health you have. Corpsers can go under barriers, but I think a lot of people just go under the barriers and then they just leave their backs completely exposed, and that's an easy kill for anybody who is trying to kill you, which is something you need to consider. And I guess that's really all the points I wanted to make. A mix of characters and coordination and communication is really what gets the job done, depending on what your strategy is. But that's pretty much all I have to say for this particular video. I will have more when the full game comes out. I'm going to plan on continuing all my series and add some new ones, including map breakdowns. Expect me to improve and bring you improvement videos, and I guess that's all I'm going to say for now. Take care, and I will leave you with the final score.